Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. And now, me hearties, let me tell you the tale of the fearsome pirate known as Black Friday, who sailed the seas, was feared in over 100 countries, and was eaten by sharks while surfing. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. Hold on. Yes, Surfshark is having a Black Friday sale that's lasting all the way until the 31st of December 2022, which is good for me because I keep forgetting when Black Friday is. With Surfshark, you don't need to pirate your favourite films and TV because you can get around region locks on streaming services. Not to mention protecting yourself online from scurvy dogs stealing your data. What makes Surfshark better than the rest? They just are. Oh, also, Surfshark can be used on unlimited devices. Furthermore, Surfshark is the first premium commercial VPN to have servers in over 100 countries. And until the end of December, you can get 85% off a 2-year plan with 3 months extra free. Follow the link in the description below and use the code JAGO to tell them I sent you. Now, let's set sail for the actual video meansoms. You're probably familiar with Nipper the dog, even if you don't know the name. Nipper is the dog from the HMV logo. He was a real dog, and today we're going to find out where he's buried. Nipper had quite an exciting life, really. He was born in Bristol in 1884. His exact breed is unknown, but he was most likely a mixed breed. His name came from his habit of biting the ankles of the humans around him. His first owner was Mark Barrord, a scenery painter at the Prince's Theatre in Bristol, which lasted from 1867 until it was destroyed in the Blitz in 1940. Mark sadly died in 1887. To his brothers Philip and Francis he left 2 reminders of his life. One was Nipper, still a relative youngster, whom the brothers took care of between them. The other was an Edison phonograph and some recording cylinders. Mark's hobby was the then fairly new technology of sound recording. Thomas Edison had invented the phonograph in 1877, introducing the world to the strange new experience of hearing themselves talk and saying, "Wait, I don't really sound like that, do I?" I should point out that it wasn't the first sound recording device, that was the phonautograph of 1857, but that could only record sound as written data without playing it back. Nipper apparently found his owner's hobby very confusing, as he couldn't quite figure out how his voice could be issuing from a tin horn. Dogs are notoriously bad at sound engineering, so it's kind of understandable. Nipper would go on to live in Liverpool and finally in Kingston-upon-Thames with Mark's widow. In 1895, at the age of 11, he passed away. The story of how he became an advertising icon is quite a sad one in many ways. Francis Barrord, one of Nipper's custodians, painted a picture in 1898 of Nipper listening to a phonograph and titled it His Master's Voice. Given that Mark had been the owner of the phonograph, what we're looking at could be interpreted as a dog encountering a sort of ghost of his departed father. Given that Nipper himself was also deceased by this point, the portrait is doubly poignant. Poignancy aside, Francis spotted that there were commercial possibilities. This was the sort of sentimental painting that Victorians loved. He approached the Edison Bell Company, manufacturers of the phonograph used in the painting. They turned him down on the grounds that the painting was ridiculous. Who ever heard of a dog listening to a phonograph? I mean, I commend them for their adherence to the principles of truth in advertising, but I think maybe they were being overly literal. Not to worry, Francis also approached the gramophone company. They were much more enthusiastic, but they had one condition. The dog should be listening to one of their gramophones. So Francis went back and altered the painting to change the Edison Bell phonograph to a gramophone company gramophone. Technically, a phonograph and a gramophone are the same thing, although the term phonograph is generally used to describe a machine that uses cylinders, while a gramophone uses discs. The painting and its copyright were sold for £100 in 1899. Francis' hunch had been right, the logo was a huge success. It was used not only by the gramophone company, but its American owners, the Victor Talking Machine Company. Francis would produce several copies of the original at the request of the company. His corporate master's voice, if you like. In 1901, his master's voice, or HMV for short, became the name of a record label in Britain. Here's a copy of their smash hit Post Office Telephones. Watch out, the Beatles. A huge number of collectibles were issued featuring Nipper's image. In 1992, the HMV record label, now owned by EMI, fell out of use, but Nipper's image would go on. You see, in 1921, the first HMV shop was opened, here on Oxford Street. A number of other shops would be opened, with expansion of the chain really taking off from the second half of the 1960s onwards. With the record company dropping Nipper, that left the chain of retailers to be the masters of the mascot. Unfortunately, with the rise of streaming services and online shopping, the 21st century hit the retailer hard. In 2013, the company went into receivership, and while it survives, it has a fraction of the number of shops it used to. The shop in Oxford Street is now an American candy store, because if there's one thing that says the West End of London, it's overpriced American sweets. One of the longest-lasting holdouts was the shop in Kingston upon Thames, and that brings us back to Nipper. Nipper was buried in Kingston, in what used to be a park. During the 20th century, Kingston grew into a major shopping district. The park is long gone. Nipper's final resting place is behind what's now Lloyd's Bank. Not that the little dog is entirely disregarded. There's a plaque inside the bank commemorating him. And a short distance away, in 2010, this street was named Nipper Alley. It's not a very nice street, but it's something. It's good to know that his presence has not gone unrecorded. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, then please do click the like button and consider subscribing for more. This is slightly different from my usual fare. It was inspired by a chance conversation with a friend and a visit to the Musical Museum in Brentford, who have many Nipper collectibles. I'd like to thank my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon. You are the cylinders to my phonograph. A big thank you also to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring today's video. Follow the link in the description below to take advantage of their generous offer. And I'll see you all again very soon. Cheerio.